Hi, I'm Andy Swarbrick. Based on a talk I recently gave to a packed Oxford Vegan Festival, this video summarises my arthritis, particularly over the last 2 years. My hope is you'll see how dietary changes have led to very positive health changes in my life. To begin this story, I want to briefly go back to the beginning of my arthritis. We go back to 1976, when I developed what's called psoriatic arthropathy, a skin and joint complaint. Some people have mostly a skin complaint, mine was mostly a joint issue. I was told every joint in my body was affected. However, after a very shaky first couple of years, which I won't go into here, my arthritis stabilised, and so for 40 years I was able to swim, play badminton and walk and so forth. In general, my life felt fairly normal, apart from very stiff knees and an elbow that would never straighten. Unfortunately, in May 2015, my health deteriorated and things started to go wrong, badly wrong. That's what this video is about. To set the context of that, if you'll excuse me, I wish to go back in time now to late 2010. And let me introduce my daughter Jane. This is a great picture of her and was taken on a very snowy Christmas day in December 2010. However, by next April in 2011, she was dead, aged 24. She died of something called sudden unexplained death from epilepsy. She had epilepsy as a child, but that's the whole of the story. My point here is the loss of my daughter, as anyone who has lost a child may know, left a huge hole in my life. Also, of course, that of my wife and our son. For me, sadly, there is no doubt in my mind that the loss of my daughter seriously contributed to the onset of my rheumatoid arthritis problems. But that did not happen straight away. Before that, here's my son. I mentioned my son. We now step forward in time to May 2015, when my son and his wife had their superb wedding party. As I've said since my daughter's death, both my wife and myself felt we wanted, nay needed, a grandchild. At this most excellent wedding event, I found that pressure in my head, that desire for a grandchild got to me, and so my health started to deteriorate. So let's get to it. Because I have regular blood tests, I know that my RA started at or very near the date of that party. And this is clearly indicated in the chart from around early 2015. I promise this is the only chart, though I will show you it again in a minute. We can see the chart begins around 2012, from which date my blood records are available to me. To the left there is a hint I may have had rheumatoid arthritis problems before 2012, but without early computer records we can only guess. Whatever, we can see that in May 2015 my CRP begins to climb. CRP stands for C-reactive protein, and for my arthritis it is the main indicator. Most people with RA seem to have a CRP below 100 milligrams per litre. As you can see, mine climbs well above that, and so you may very well ask, how did that RA affect me? Yes, that's me in a wheelchair. This picture was taken early next year in Dorset. Because of my health degrading quickly, my wife and I were discussing replacing this temporary wheelchair with a mobility scooter as a more permanent solution. After much research, thankfully the internet gave me some very good advice, as it turned out, and so, ignoring both my doctor and my rheumatologist, who stated plainly diet has no effect on arthritis, I changed my diet. So now let's go back to that chart. I started my whole food plant-based diet in April 2015, whilst in Dorset. Hopefully you can see from the chart how my health started to improve almost immediately. As days and weeks passed, I found the pain and inflammation reliably reducing. Sometimes the reduction was not smooth, but I hope you can see the clear trend. I haven't talked about the drugs I was taking. The main drug I was prescribed was methotrexate. This, I feel, has been beneficial in probably stopping more joint damage, but as you can see from the ups and downs of the descent, it did nothing to stop some very large reactions in my body from rheumatoid arthritis. And before we go into that detail and how I continued pain reduction and so forth, I want to now show you what my diet actually looks like. This slide shows my diet and is what I call my diet card. I take this everywhere with me. I use it with friends or in restaurants. Before I describe it in detail, let me explain a couple of things. This diet is very personal to me. I cannot overstate that. It's my diet, not yours or anyone else's. Not a copyright issue. It's simply that I worked out what foods cause my arthritis and what foods do not. It took over 3 months of painful testing, starting that April, through a very thorough elimination process. This process starts with a quick cleanse and juice phase, followed by an increasing range of very easy to digest foods. As these foods become tolerated, other foods are added. For each foodstuff added, I would wait and learn and wait for the reactions in my body. Did it cause pain inflammation? If so, then it was added to a postpone list. If it was no reaction particularly, then I would begin to eat it regularly. Now let's see how the card is laid out. The card is colour coded. Foods in the green section cause me no problems and some have been positively really very good in helping to reduce pain and inflammation. The yellow or amber card section are foods that I can tolerate in small amounts, but I probably want to try and keep down to a minimum. And finally, the red foods, the bad foods, these I just avoid entirely whenever possible. Let me just reiterate that point. It is a personal diet created for me, by me, using experiments on my own body. While there are common themes, I believe, of what might cause inflammation for everyone else, such as dairy and oils, I strongly recommend that everyone goes through a similar, even an elimination process for best success. Also, changing diet without care about nutrition could be causing yourself serious harm. So please take great care and attention, and if necessary, consult a dietitian. Thankfully, the process I used already ensured that I always had a great nutritional intake. In summary, my overall diet is best described as a whole food plant-based diet without oils wherever possible. So now back to the chart. I promised for the last time, in 2016, you can see where the line, although there's a general trend of descent, is actually going up and down. This was confusing me, very frustrating, not to say painful. I had to ask myself, was my diet failing somehow? I was having some good days, but also some bad days. So what I did was a total review of my diet, and taking advice, one thing I was ignoring was oils. And I decided at that point to stop oils entirely. This included things like dark chocolate, even though it was 70%, would contain 30% oils or thereabouts. No more extra virgin olive oil, despite its so-called health benefits. No more nuts, and so forth. And from the day I stopped oils, my health improvements started once again, and this time reliably. However, I didn't want to find that I came across another improvement break, stoppage, and so I wanted to step up my game. Another very strong recommendation was for people with rheumatoid arthritis is Bikram yoga. Never done yoga seriously and was concerned I was too ill for yoga. Certainly before September, I could not have considered even getting to a yoga class. However, once my health improved sufficiently, such that I could walk and drive around town, even with some pain, I decided I would give yoga a try. So in mid-October, I made that start. It turns out that Bikram is a style of yoga practiced in a very hot room. It's a very intensive session of cardiovascular exercise that leaves everyone in the room, however experienced, totally exhausted. My first session, I was unable to do anything. In my mind I said to myself, I'm a cripple, what am I doing in the midst of these very healthy people? I could do no poses, hardly even the breathing exercises. For the floor exercises I even needed 2 people to physically lift me to the floor and then lift me again to get myself vertical to standing. However, in that first session a light went on in my head. I'd done this once, I would do it again. In fact, I've been back every weekday for almost 6 months. Sorry I'm no He-Man, but here is a video taken of me after a normal session just a few weeks ago. That's March 2017. I had this taken for my own records to show my improvements. I've included this here because it shows how far I have come. Not only now can I balance, I can stand on my toes. Yes, this is no top flight yogi in action, but from being in a wheelchair 10 months ago, I hope you agree which person I would want to be. Here I am touching the floor. Only a few weeks before, I could not even touch the floor. We're coming up now to what is called awkward pose, where you have to sit down on your haunches. Firstly, your weight is going to the rear, then you come up on your toes. I can't do the toes that other people do, which is very impressive. Mine is a bit wobbly at this stage, but it will get better. For the first 2 months I couldn't even stand on my toes at all, so now beginning to stand on my toes just a little bit is, I consider, very good. This is the final sitting down pose, when I'm just kind of leaning forward with my knees together, and with those knees together I could feel the joints in one of my knees just grinding a little bit. This is called eagle pose, and I only was able to begin to do this the week before this video was taken. Just swapping over to the left side. My left is always worse. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found my story useful. If you want to hear more about my story, I run a blog, and also there's an hour-long interview by Clint Pattison. Check out the links below. As you can see on the right, I have what I wanted, I needed. My grandson Rufus, born October 2016. Thank you.